This video will show you how to configure the Emech G1 actuator for bi-gain control. The auxiliary input port of the Emech actuator allows the actuator to accept a binary signal from a device such as a flow switch, a flow sensor, a level switch, or from a manual switch, or it can accept a signal from a PLC device. This binary signal can be used to enable bi-gain control. First step is to connect the power supply terminals of the actuator to a 24 volt DC power supply. Then you turn on the actuator by pushing the green button and holding it for about 2 seconds. Connect one side of the USB to serial adapter cable to your PC or laptop's USB port. Then connect the other side of the cable to the supplied serial cable. Then you screw the serial cable onto the port labeled 3 on the underside of the actuator. Next, connect the supplied Emech auxiliary cable to the port number 2 on the underside of the actuator. The auxiliary input is a 4-pole M8 male connector that accepts a 5 to 24 volt configurable active low or active high signal. The switching device is placed between pin 1 and pin 3 of the connector. Pin 4 on the connector outputs 24 volts DC, which can be used to power the auxiliary device, but the device must not draw more than 100 milliamps. Bi-gain control allows the actuator to switch between a default gain and a customized gain setting. An application would be in variable flow control, where you would reduce the gains when the flow rate is low, so that to avoid the valve hunting. When the normal flow rate is resumed, then you can switch the gain back to the normal default setting. First step is to establish communications with the actuator by clicking on Tools and Detect Emech Actuator. After the actuator is detected, click on Tools, select Standard Config, then select Unlock Actuator Configuration. Then you select the configuration devices on your left, move down and select 22 controller. Move down again and select flow gain factor. The flow gain factor can be a number, an integer number that can be from 1 to 32767. 32767 implies default gain, which is 100% gain. The gain can only be reduced from 32767. So for example, giving it a value of 8192 implies that the gain is reduced by 75%. Move to the left, select flow gain threshold. Give it a value of 0 if you are using a normally open switch. If you are using a normally closed switch, give it a value of -1. Finally, select Tools, Standard Config, Lock Actuator Configuration. The actuator is now configured so that when the binary switch is enabled, the actuator will reduce its gains by 75%. When the binary switch is disabled, the actuator will revert back to normal gains.